Enhancement level plus 40. Minimum price 60K. They have them up for 155K. Yes. Let me know when you post it so I can press refresh. Oh, I see it with the level 5. Bought. It's been bought and I bought it. Sec. Yep, almost there. I went out to check something. Alright, I'm there. Alright, I'm buying it now. It's purchased. Three quad armors. Alright, I'm ready. Buying it now. It has been purchased.
See you later.
My score is 1192 now.
Hey!
Teleporting both of us? Where'd you go? Just I saw you go in, but then I lost you. I ran into some underground place. Yeah, it wasn't having you show up on the map when you went in. That's what I'm saying, it wasn't showing you on the minimap. And when you went in, you disappeared. Not sure. I got a level just from doing that? Sweet. I did. Well, I needed this one. There's one right here. I don't have any food to cook. I haven't killed anything for supplies.
Trial start. Success.
There's a trial over here. This figure is supposed to do trials, so I've just been doing them. Oh. Cool. I think it's... No, it's not over. Now it's over. I'm gonna go over to the Ryuker device. Yeah, I'm moving to you right now.
Trial start.
かの雑魚めとりゃなめたまねはこれでも食らうのじゃこれでも食らうのじゃとりゃ雑魚め弱いやつは死ぬがいいのじゃ
Success!
You're running in place on my screen. I see you. Open the trigger portal. She jumps too high. Blacks can never jump too high. They run away from stage. Cons. Can't go through the middle.
じゃ。弱いやつは死ぬがいいのじゃ。雑魚め、これでも食らうのじゃ。雑魚め、雑魚め。弱いやつは死ぬがいいのじゃ。雑魚め、雑魚め。弱いやつは死ぬがいいのじゃ。とりゃとりゃ、雑魚め。
S rank, perfect. Where do I check that? Halfway to my next level on 13. Let's chase the E's. Let's chase the E's. Fuck. Hold on. I'm getting a headache. Let's make a schedule to play on the weekend. Just cause I can't put it all together today. I just can't think. Just I'm saying, like, I can't look at the screen, my eyes hurt. Type shit. Let's play this one. Let's do this one. Did you leave? He's buying Twitter. Shit, I canceled it, sorry.
Offering to buy the company for $43 billion. Twitter's board members are obviously not impressed. But the world's richest man is not one to give up easily. He's at it again. One of the Twitterati had shared this, a list of Twitter board members and how much they own of the company. Needless to say, nobody came close to Musk's holding. Elon Musk has replied to the data with this, and I quote, "With Jack departing, the Twitter board collectively owns almost no shares. Objectively, their economic interests are simply not aligned with shareholders." End of quote. Now, this is bound to cause some stir in San Francisco headquarters. This comes just a day after Twitter announced a poison pill plan. It has one aim, to make it harder for people like Elon Musk to get a controlling stake. The plan kicks in if over 15% of the shares are bought without the directors' agreement. The plan will also allow selling shares to other shareholders at a discounted price. Now, this eventually dilutes the holdings of new investors. The bid by Musk to buy the company sent shockwaves through the tech world. But at this point, Musk's proposed buyout faces 3 hazards. 1 is a possible rejection, 2, assembling the money, and 3, a major transformation of the social media giant, because Musk has plans to take the company private. Now, 2 weeks ago, the world's richest person, Elon Musk, announced his over 9% stake in the company. He is the second largest shareholder after mutual fund giant Vanguard, which holds a 10.3% stake. Morgan Stanley is another heavyweight, which has an 8.4% stake. BlackRock Inc. owns a 6.5% stake, and State Street Corp., another investment firm that owns 4.5% of Twitter. There is also Saudi Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, who has a 5.2% holding in the company.
We are now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.
これでも食らうのじゃ雑魚めとりゃなめたまねわいやつは死ぬがいいのじゃ
What about this creature? Okay, like this creature doesn't seem like he would have.
雑魚め雑魚め
Emergency announcement. We are preparing for a defensive operation against a large number of dolls appearing in the Alien region. All ARX defenders, please prepare for deployment.
It's 1296 now.
Emergency announcement. We are preparing for a defensive operation against a large number of dolls appearing in the Alien region. All ARX defenders, please prepare for deployment.
Should be 1296 or 1206. 1206.
これでも食らうのじゃ雑魚めなめたまねは雑魚め
I got 1 skill point, yeah. Alright.
た真似は。
I got it. The gold? No, I don't see gold. Oh, I see one gold over here. Didn't we? And all side missions. Oh, okay. I got one skill point still. Oh no. It's starting to hurt. My head. Shit, I used glide a shitload of times. Well, I finished it even though I didn't, so fuck it. Get a drink real quick.
It turns out that in the year 2020, the number of American motorists who died on the road spiked dramatically. Traffic deaths rose by more than 10% in a single year. Now, in any year, that would be odd and distressing. But coming as it did in 2020, it was flat out bizarre because, as you'll remember, in 2020, there was a pandemic. It had just started. Millions of people stayed home that year. They did not drive to work. Many didn't drive at all. In 2020, roads were less crowded than they had been in decades in this country, so of course you would expect far fewer traffic deaths. Less traffic, fewer people dying in traffic. And yet, there were more traffic deaths. I think that's weird. It gets weirder. If you look deeper into the numbers, you saw that not only were more Americans dying in cars in the year 2020, a staggering number of those who died were black. Traffic deaths among African Americans rose by nearly 25% in a single year. That's unprecedented. So in a normal presidential administration, that question, why is this happening, would be the subject of urgent academic study. People are dying, let's figure out why. But in this administration, it was not the subject of urgent academic study. Why? Because Pete Buttigieg is now the Secretary of Transportation.
Trial
Buttigieg
start.
once worked at McKinsey, so he already knew the cause of these deaths, and it was, needless to say, racism. Racism did it because America's roads are racist. They're killing black people. As the Washington Post quotes the Transportation Department, quote, included,
Express less than 4
black
enemies.
tend to be crisscrossed by more dangerous roads, end quote. Now that made sense to the Washington Post, and you can see why civil engineers, road builders, banks on genocide would, needless to say, put all the dangerous roads in black neighborhoods. That's who they are. And that kind of thing happens.
Success.
This is a racist country. Joe Biden has told us that countless
Trial
times.
start.
But what doesn't make sense is the timing here. Very few of these racist roads are new. Most of them have been there a long time. So why did so many black motorists suddenly start dying in the year 2020? Pete Buttigieg had no idea. He didn't even bother to guess because honestly, he didn't.
Success.
We've got it here. Here it is. If you look at the numbers,
Trial
you'll notice
start.
that traffic deaths among African Americans in the year 2020 surged in the month of June. Fatalities among black drivers in June 2020 were fully 55% higher than they were in June of 2019. You never see increases like that. What could have happened? Well, let's see. It was in the last week of May of 2020 that a convicted felon called George Floyd died in police custody in Minneapolis. And after that, you'll recall everything changed. What changed most of all was how we regard the rule of law. As
Success.
One behind you.
Government
Oh,
Highway
we did it.
Safety
We killed it.
Association put it. Floyd's death, quote, accelerated national discussion about equity in transportation. And that discussion would include, quote, questions about enforcement. Oh, there it is, right there. That's the answer.
Less than
Cops
4
across
enemies.
the country were told to stop enforcing traffic laws against black drivers. No one wanted to be
Ooh,
accused
force
of
goal
arresting
points.
somebody for the crime of, quote, driving while black. So in the name of equity, the law no longer applied to huge numbers of
I'm
people.
gonna go get a-
The result?
Go get a piece of
Thousands
food.
of Americans died. This is a trend you may have noticed, and it doesn't just apply to traffic, and it doesn't just cause traffic deaths. Here's a chart that shows the number of black Americans murdered every year from 2010 to 2020. Look carefully and you notice two major spikes. One spike came in 2014. That was exactly the moment the media decided to lie to us about the death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. Activists then used that false story to drive police out of black neighborhoods in many parts of America. That was supposed to make things better. Fewer cops, less racism, right? No. Net effect, a lot of people got killed, and most of them were black. Then there's the second spike in the last decade, the biggest one yet. As we said, it came in the summer of 2020, and it's continuing today. Same reason, same effect. There aren't a lot of trends in social science that can be explained in a single graph, but this is one of them. Less law enforcement means more crime, and over time it means more dead children,
Thanks
more
for stopping
grieving
by.
parents. You don't need to be a criminologist to understand this. It's very obvious. Even Lori Lightfoot gets it. Lori Lightfoot is the mayor of Chicago. Thanks to her equity-based policies, the city of Chicago is falling apart. People are dying in huge numbers. Shootings in Chicago jumped 60% last year. Lori Lightfoot knows perfectly well this is happening. She knows why it is happening. But Lori Lightfoot doesn't care.
Come by anytime,
Lori Lightfoot
okay?
is so uninterested in all of those deaths, mostly of black people, that she won't even answer questions about them when asked. Watch this exchange. It comes from Tuesday of this week.
Every time you have a press conference, you say crime is down. The economy is booming.
Well, that's not true, but get your question, sir.
Across the street, we had a police officer on duty, the victim of a hit and run. We have Michigan Avenue, the magnificent miles now referred to as the Mile of Fear. The Water Tower Place has thrown the keys back to the lender. They say they don't want to be in Chicago anymore. Real Chicagoans are asking me, how could you possibly even consider running for re-election as mayor of the city of Chicago after all the harm you've caused?
Well, I disagree with you
Attention
fundamentally.
all ARCS defenders.
And
We are
I don't think I
beginning a
need to address
defensive
and
operation
dignify
against a
your
large number
comments.
of dolls
One
appearing in
second.
the Alio region.
Next
We
question.
request the participation of all
Next
ARCS
question.
defenders.
So Lori Lightfoot won't answer the question precisely because she knows the answer. In the name of equity, officials in
Hello?
Chicago have stopped enforcing the law. And not some esoteric tax law that no one really understands. The basic
Okay.
laws, like you can't hurt other people.
Okay,
They're
I was
releasing
wondering. I just
criminals
thought
who
you
go on
were.
to
I
murder
thought something happened to
more
you for a second.
citizens. This is the triumph of ideology over human
Okay,
life.
thank you.
Here's just one example. It
All
comes
right,
from Fox's
bye.
Chicago station.
The details on the offender's prior history does call into question how he was released.
Yeah, I never left. I'm still working on my skills. I got 7 skill points. My battle power is 1227 now. I'm gonna go get that food real quick. Yo, when my mom gets here, I'm gonna have to hop off. Probably gonna be about 10-15 minutes. Let's do something fun. Those weren't bad. Said those weren't bad. Yeah, mind numbing enough. Oh, you can just draw me into these? I don't have to do shit. Is this basically a fucking dungeon? It says we have to clear it in less than 23 minutes.
弱いやつは死ぬがいいのじゃ。とりゃ雑魚め。
Oh, we gotta climb that to get to the top. There's these guys we gotta fight down here. Reward item triggered, yellow something? Something you did gave me a reward item or triggered a reward item. Three-quarters of the way to 14. $12.43 battle power and higher. Should.
めた真似はとりゃとりゃこれでも食らうのじゃ雑魚め
Okay, fight again.
雑魚め
Take this!
とりゃこれでも食らうのじゃとりゃ雑魚めこれでも食らうのじゃ雑魚め雑魚めこれでも食らうのじゃこれでも食らうのじゃ
More skill points. Sweet. Hello? Yes, I can. Alright, thank you. Bye. Alright, I got dip. My mom just got home. I don't know. Cause my brother gets off work. I gotta stay up for my brother to get off work. Probably not. I probably won't be on again until midday tomorrow. Yeah, it's just I'm all fucked up with my life right now. I just need something that I don't know. But I gotta just fucking meditate, find my center, some whack shit like that. It's not about this game, dude. It's not about this game. It's about my life right now. I'll check you later, though. Thanks for being there. You know, one shout out to the dojo and everything.
This document from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office says in June of 2021, 16-year-old Anthony Brown led police on a foot chase. That's when they recovered a loaded .22 caliber Glock handgun with an extended magazine. 5 days later, he was released on electronic monitoring. 14 days later, the bracelet came off and he was put on a curfew. 6 months later, they say he was involved in a carjacking. This time, police recovered a loaded Glock 9mm handgun with a round in the chamber. That's when he was put back on monitoring. In the case of Tuesday's shooting, the 16-year-old is charged with first-degree murder and carjacking. He carjacked a Lyft driver earlier in the day and took off in that same Infiniti after the alleged shooting of a teen he didn't even know.
Stories like this constantly in the city of Chicago, cities across the country. They're always the same, but the details of this one tell you everything. A criminal runs from the police carrying an illegal gun. Then the same politicians who never stop lecturing you about gun control, it's immoral to defend yourself, they scream at you. Those same people let this guy who used a gun to commit a crime out of jail immediately because equity. Then he gets rid of his ankle monitor and commits a carjacking. Then what happens? Well, Lori Lightfoot's friends release him once again because incarceration bad. So what does he do? He drives off to shoot and kill a 15-year-old. Because why wouldn't he? There's no penalty. Now, if tragedies like this happened occasionally, you would call them accidents. You would feel sad, but you wouldn't be bothered. These are not accidents. This is happening every day in the city of Chicago. Fully 43% of all criminals convicted in the state of Illinois commit new crimes within 3 years of being released, and some are released very early. That's a high number compared to other states. In saner places like Texas, South Carolina, West Virginia, the recidivism rate after 3 years is about half of that. What's the difference? Politics. Honestly, that's not a partisan talking point. It's true. For the last decade, for example, the most liberal state in the country, California, has recorded a recidivism rate of nearly 50%. Now, keep in mind the irony here. They tell you that we shouldn't incarcerate people because incarceration doesn't work, and if you really want to rehabilitate people, you have to let them out. But they're not rehabilitated. That's why they're reoffending at almost 50% in the state of California. So incarceration has two purposes. One is to improve the prisoner so he won't reoffend, but the main purpose is to protect the rest of us who aren't committing crimes, who've got kids who just want to live a normal life. They've forgotten that part. So every day in California, politicians release truly dangerous criminals back into the public sphere. And this is why you're now taking a very big risk if you dare to use public transportation in the city of Los Angeles. You could be shot or sexually assaulted. And we're not guessing, we have the tape. Here's surveillance footage from LA's transit system. It's on your screen right now. It includes pictures of a woman being raped in public as she's sitting down. We're cutting some of it out. That happened in public. And it happens a lot, that kind of thing. So we went to LA for the premiere of season 2 of our documentary series. We went there because we wanted to understand how one man, a man called George, here. And this is why you're now taking a very big risk if you dare to use public transportation in the city of Los Angeles. You could be shot or sexually assaulted. And we're not guessing, we have the tape. Here's surveillance footage from LA's transit system. It's on your screen right now. It includes pictures of a woman being raped in public as she's sitting down. We're cutting some of it out. That happened in public. And it happens a lot, that kind of thing. So we went to LA for the premiere of season 2 of our documentary series. We went there because we wanted to understand how one man, a man called George Gascon, a prosecutor backed by George Soros, could have done so much in such little time to destroy the city. And of course, he did it in the name of equity. We talked to the family of a murder victim called Fatima Johnson. It was a bracing conversation.
Fatima Johnson, a mother of 6, was found brutally murdered in her apartment.
She was violently murdered, beaten to death, hogtied and gagged.
The suspect is a career criminal called Daryl Collins. Collins served decades in prison for 2 murders as well as a string of armed robberies.
He had quite an extensive criminal history. A series of armed robberies. He killed 2 different people on 2 separate occasions. He was under 25 when he committed those murders. He was eligible for youthful parole, and the parole board decided, oh, it looks like, you've rehabilitated yourself, and we'll go ahead and release you. That was a huge mistake.
He came in and told my mom he was going to marry her, and, he would be our stepdad. Prince Charming bullshit.
Despite previous convictions for murder, and despite the fact that Fatima Johnson was bound and horrifyingly tortured before she was killed, George Gascon is refusing to add any enhancements to this case. George Gascon is not the only corrupt prosecutor who's doing this. George Soros has paid for people just like George Gascon in many American cities. Kim Foxx in Chicago, Larry Krasner in Philadelphia, Alvin Bragg now in Manhattan, others. In every case, many Americans, thousands overall, have died as a result. So who's benefiting from this slaughter, and how exactly are they benefiting? That's a fair question you've got to wonder. We do know for certain that voters don't want it. Americans want the laws they voted for to be enforced, and that is true of black voters just like any others, because why wouldn't it be? Sorry, white liberals, black people don't love crime, actually. You're not helping black people by increasing the amount of crime in their neighborhoods. And a new Pew poll proves this. The poll asked black adults what they cared about most. And guess what? It wasn't racism and diversity or equity. That was near the bottom of the list. What they cared about most was, quote, violence and crime. That's what they cared about. Why wouldn't they care about it?
Attention all
So
arms
as Keith
defenders.
Buttigieg frets
We are
about
beginning a
racist roads,
defensive operation
thousands of
against
black
a
people are
large
dying of
number of
gunshot
dolls
wounds.
appearing in the Alio region.
And all people
we
are
request
sick
the
of this.
participation
In San Francisco,
of
the
all arts
lunatic,
defenders.
equity-mongering DA there, Chesa Boudin, is facing a recall, which could succeed. Boudin has, among other things, encouraged open-air narcotics markets throughout the city of San Francisco. And as a result, you guessed it, more than twice as many people have died from drug ODs in San Francisco than from COVID. Who could support something like that? You'd have to be pretty out of touch. Well, singer John Legend does, quote, I endorsed Chesa for DA when he ran for election, Legend tweeted, and I support him now. Of course you do, John Legend. The Biden administration supports him too. Just days ago, police in Washington raided an apartment where they found a dog called Pablo. The dog had been stolen at gunpoint by thieves who also took drugs and money. At gunpoint. So police arrested 4 men, 3 juveniles in the apartment. A few hours later, Joe Biden's Justice Department announced he was refusing to charge any of them.
The U.S. Attorney's Office has decided not to move forward with what they were charged with, and also confirmed that the 4 adults that were arrested have been released. I can tell you the 7 people arrested yesterday were charged with receiving stolen property. So receiving Pablo in this case. Pablo was one of 2 dogs stolen during a Wednesday violent crime spree that police say lasted nearly an hour. There were 4 incidents reported within that time frame, including a double shooting in Northeast D.C., along with the armed robberies of 2 dog owners. Police tell us that when they recovered Pablo in a Northeast D.C. apartment, that they also apprehended some items here, including drugs, a pistol, an AR-15 style rifle, and ammunition.
So what happens when you allow people to commit violence? The one thing the state can never do. The state has a monopoly on violence. In a democracy, we decide when violence is appropriate. But what happens when you allow antisocial elements to commit all the violence they want? You get a lot of violence. And your cities start to resemble third world hellholes. People are executed in broad daylight, and no one bothers to call the cops. That just happened in Atlanta.
51-year-old security guard Anthony Frazier getting out of his vehicle on Monday near Cleveland Avenue in southwest Atlanta. Little does Frazier know he's about to be murdered. Now watch as the suspected gunman walks toward him with a pistol in his right hand. Another man sitting there in the curb will watch the whole thing happen. Police don't show the actual shooting, just the aftermath. Frazier laying there on the ground dead. His bloodied body has been blurred. The alleged gunman goes through his belongings before casually walking away from the scene. Remarkably, the witness who was sitting at the corner gets up and walks by Frazier's lifeless body, just shaking his head in apparent disbelief. Then 2 other men approach the victim and also appear to search him. Take a closer look. We've zoomed in on the video as they then walk away with what appears to be the deceased victim's wallet.
There's something really wrong with everyone in that video except the dead man. There's something really wrong with the rest of us for putting up with this and not figuring out why exactly it's happening. It's a little more complicated than racism and mass incarceration. Something really dark is going on. But we can say that these sorts of things happen a lot more than they otherwise would when you decide that laws should be applied on the basis of skin color. When you decide that, a lot of people die. They bleed out in gutters on city streets as the rest of the neighborhood hides indoors in terror. And as it happens, most of the dead come from the very group our leaders say they're protecting. We love you so much for letting you die. That's the equity agenda. Too bad BLM never told us how it was going to end.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens, stories that are changing the world and changing your life. I'm Tucker Carlson tonight.
のじゃ雑魚めとりゃ雑魚めこれでも食らうのじゃ雑魚めこれでも食らうのじゃこれでも食らうのじゃとりゃ
俺の前から消えろ俺の前から消えろ消えろ
とりゃこれでも食らうのじゃなめたまねはこれでも食らうのじゃなめたまねは雑魚めこれでも食らうのじゃこれでも食らうのじゃとりゃとりゃ雑魚め雑魚め雑魚め雑魚め雑魚め雑魚め雑魚めとりゃ
終わりだ
これでも食らうのじゃ
見せる
弱いやつは死ぬがいいのじゃ弱いやつは死ぬがいいのじゃとりゃ雑魚め雑魚め雑魚めこれでも食らうのじゃ雑魚め
俺の前から消えろ俺の前から消えろ
雑魚め
見せろ
これでも食らうのじゃ
Eradication of dolls in accordance with Defense Directive confirmed.
とりゃ
Thank you for your contribution to the mission.
これでも食らうのじゃ雑魚め
見せろ。
雑魚め。は死ぬがいいのじゃ。これでも食らうのじゃ。雑魚め、これでも食らう、これでも食らうのじゃ。とりゃとりゃ、雑魚め、とりゃ。これでも食らうのじゃ。雑魚め、とりゃとりゃ、雑魚め、雑魚め、なめたまねはとりゃ。雑魚め、雑魚め、これでも食らうのじゃ。これでも食らうのじゃ。雑魚め、雑魚め、雑魚め、雑魚め。とりゃとりゃ、
俺の前から消えろ。
ぶち殺し決定だ。きれいさっぱり粉みじんにしてくれる。雑魚め雑魚め雑魚め。これでも食らうのじゃ。弱いやつは死ぬがいいのじゃ。これでも食らうのじゃ。弱いやつは死ぬがいいのじゃ。これでも食らうのじゃ。これでも食らうのじゃ。雑魚めこれでも食らうのじゃ。これでも食らうのじゃ。これでも食らうのじゃ。これでも食らうのじゃ。とりゃとりゃとりゃ。 弱いやつは死ぬがいいのじゃ。
appeal or charismatic enough.
Newscasters were like, ooh, we don't want to get that messy. That was like too real for us.
He said he called. The question is, how do you get the average person to really care about it? Like, nature didn't intend people with disabilities to procreate.
The Transportation Department, quote,
after all the harm you've caused.
Well, I disagree with you fundamentally, and I don't think I need to address any and dignify your comments 1 second further. Next question.
Next question. So Lori Lightfoot won't answer the question. Bound and horrifying.
Away from the scene. Remarkably, the witness who was sitting at the corner.
In studio joins us tonight. Rafael, thanks so much for coming on. So the cause and effect, I know that criminology is complex.
Unfortunately, by low-income minority communities in and around big cities that have gotten significantly less safe. So if you live in the South Bronx or on the west side of Chicago, your life is very, very different than if you live in Beverly Hills or in Greenwich, Connecticut. And what I think is happening is that a lot of so-called progressives have convinced themselves that in order to be virtuous human beings, they have to support this decarceration agenda, this depolicing agenda, because that's what makes them a good person. And they never actually see what the results of that are, because they never would dare walk through these kinds of neighborhoods late at night, where people have to live and see that kind of violence that you just showed. It's really, really disconcerting.
Neighborhoods where people pass a murder victim and just loot the body casually. Why don't the people who support the equity agenda as applied to law enforcement have to live in neighborhoods with tons of people like that? Wouldn't that be a basic requirement? You should have to experience the effects of your policies?
Yeah, well, I think their ignorance is really what I think informs a lot of this. I really do try to see the best in people, and I do think that a lot of people who support the progressive prosecutor agenda, who support mass decarceration, who support defunding the police even, I think that they have good hearts and that they're doing the right thing, and I think that has a lot to do with the distance that's between them and the sort of violence that people are experiencing all too often.
I think you're exactly right. And I would say it's all about them. Everything is all about them. That's the problem. I appreciate your measured take on this. Raphael, great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Kamala Harris is very busy. She's got a ton of jobs in the Biden administration. None of them have gone very well. First, she was in charge of securing the southern border. Then she was in charge of keeping the peace. Sorry, it's hard not to laugh. Keeping the peace between Russia and Ukraine. They're not going to invade if Kamala Harris is there. But her toughest job of all is as space czar. Bet you didn't know she was. She is. She's chair of the National Space Council. Kamala Harris is the Biden administration's expert on the stars. Here she was in October speaking to child actors about the cosmos.
I just love the idea of exploring the unknown. And then there's other things that we just haven't figured out or discovered yet. To think about so much that's out there that we still have to learn. Like, I love that. You're gonna literally see the craters on the moon with your own eyes. Oh my goodness. With your own eyes, I'm telling you, it is gonna be unbelievable.
Now, obviously that's nauseating, but then you think to yourself, well, she's never had her own kids. She doesn't maybe know how you talk to kids. Maybe she thinks you're supposed to patronize kids to the point where they throw up in their own mouths. And she would never talk like that to an adult because no one would put up with it. Oh, but you'd be wrong. Kamala Harris is happy to talk that way to adults, including you. Here she is on Monday speaking to members of the United States Space Force.
Space is exciting. It spurs our imaginations. And it forces us to ask big questions. Space, it affects us all. And it connects us all.
Space connects us all. Actually, it separates us all. That's by definition. Wouldn't it be better for Kamala Harris to say, look, I don't actually know anything. I've never done anything. I've just been a political parasite my entire life. I have no skills and no relevant life experience. You fly airplanes. Maybe you could talk to me about what you do. Oh, but no. Talking about herself again. In possibly related news, Kamala Harris's chief of staff, Tina Flournoy, has announced that she's quitting. That marks, we're keeping track, the 13th senior official to flee Kamala Harris's office in the last year. Well, CNN executives who apparently use marijuana in large quantities thought it would be a great idea to launch a paid subscription service, even though nobody watches their cable television channel, which is free. Then they hired Mike Wallace's son for the splash. It's the end of the story. It's the best part. We'll tell it to you next. The stock price at Netflix, which is completely changing entertainment, is down dramatically. 40% just this week. Why? Well, Elon Musk put it this way, quote, the woke mind virus is making Netflix unwatchable. So at CNN, where there is a shortage of self-awareness, supply chain issues apparently, the House eunuch took the opportunity to squeak, to gloat about the fall of Netflix. Watch this.
Netflix getting awful reviews for its poor Q1 earnings report. The stock tanking right now. What it means for your sharing of passwords and much more. Netflix, more like Notflix. It's pretty bad. I think what happened for Netflix for a while, they were high on their own supply. They believed they were the future of everything. Everything was going to be streaming all the time. And maybe that's not quite true.
They were high on their own supply. They convinced them of something that was implausible. They told themselves lies. Yeah. Well, it turns out that CNN's own streaming service called CNN Plus is now shutting down. Fox Business's Charlie Gasparino predicted this would happen weeks ago. In response to that, the spokesman over at CNN, Mac Dornick, wrote back and scolded him, quote, "For the record, we are very happy with the launch of CNN Plus and are bracing for a long run of success." Weirdly, viewers didn't agree, even though CNN Plus went on to air several bombshell exclusive interviews, including one with Tony Fauci, where he said he's for mask mandates. And yet, weirdly, nobody watched. Charlie Gasparino called it right. He's a reporter for Fox Business. Our friend joins us tonight. Charlie, have you gotten a call from CNN apologizing?
I'm not holding my breath either. You know, listen, I've been dealing with flacks complaining about my stories for years. They were in the Trump administration, they were in the Biden administration, they were all over Wall Street. So, Mr. Dornick, just get online. You know, what can I tell you? The interesting thing here, I think, Tucker, is why they ever thought this thing was ever going to work. You know, think about it. CNN's programming, and I have friends over there, you know, they have a political point of view. It kind of matches what the Biden administration is doing. The Biden administration's approval ratings are very low. Okay,
good point.
That's going to hurt their ratings. Then you throw on top of that a foray into streaming. Streaming's a difficult business, as the Netflix examples you just put out shows. And you get probably some of the worst programming from that low-rated cable news network, such as Jake Tapper's book club and Anderson Cooper telling us how to be better parents. I mean, think about that for a minute. They got some blowhard from NYU, Scott Galloway, talking about tech. I mean, the guy, you know, I don't understand why people would tune into this guy. Yeah. And I guess Chris Wallace, the aforementioned Chris Wallace, who, you know, I'm not going to critique his journalism abilities. I'm sure he's very good at his job. I don't watch him much. I didn't watch him much when he was on our network. But I'm just going to say, that's not going to sell it. You need something to sell it. And I think that's the problem they have. And it took probably David Zaslav, who I know very well. I know what's in his mind, and that's kind of how I got onto the story. About 35 seconds to say, okay, we just pumped $500 million in this. We have a big budget. And guess what? We have to get $4 billion of cost savings because we just bought Discovery, just bought Time Warner. And as you know, David runs Discovery. So where's the low-hanging fruit? CNN Plus. That's the first one.
Do you really think, I keep reading that they spend, and I'm all for news companies spending a lot of money, you know, particularly in the salad. On the other hand, could they really have spent $1 billion to bring you like a Tony Fauci interview with Chris Wallace or whatever?
Let's be clear. It's $500 million, which is still a lot of money. But yeah, I mean that's the problem. I mean, if you interview, I mean, think about how predictable the programming was. Jake Tapper's book club interviewing Tony Fauci about mask mandates. I mean, are you going to walk away with that with blaring headlines? You know that look what Mr. Fauci is saying, Dr. Fauci is saying about mask mandates, and that's part of the problem with their program. It's predictably left progressive on the cable side, and it's predictably boring here. Hey, listen, I have friends there. They come at me and say, "Oh, you guys are predictable." I said, "Really? Am I that predictable? Is Tucker Carlson that predictable?" No. I mean, that's why. That's TV. And
one thing I'll say in Fox's defense is we're not pompous and self-satisfied.
That's true.
That is, you know, well, you need to do this. It's like, I don't know what you should do. Stop telling me what to do. How's that sound?
That's always been my attitude.
Amen. Great to see you tonight. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Tucker. Totally.
So the state of Florida has just challenged the Biden administration's attempt to push hormone treatments on small children. We'll speak to the Surgeon General of the state. Plus, there's been a really weird and real spate of disasters at food processing plants all over the country. And it's increasing tonight. We had another disaster at a food processing plant. What the hell is going on? We'll investigate that straight ahead. So the state of Florida banned kindergarten teachers from describing their sex lives to kindergartners. The Biden administration is in favor of talking to kindergartners about your sex life. They call the bill anti-gay, which has nothing to do with gays. Now, the White House has come out in support of something even more horrifying, life-altering plastic surgery on young children, including genital surgery. That includes hormone therapies, puberty blockers, sex reassignment, genital mutilation. So the state of Florida is rejecting those federal guidelines. Dr. Joseph Ladapo is the Surgeon General of the state. We're happy to have you join us tonight. Doctor, thanks so much for coming on. So why are you rejecting these guidelines?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're rejecting the guidelines because we think they're harmful to kids. And I say that both as a professional, as the Surgeon General of the state, but also really on a personal level. I mean, you look at the scientific evidence that the Biden administration has based this recommendation on, and it's so thin, it's appalling. And to be making such a really a powerful recommendation. I mean, this is not trivial. These are not trivial interventions. These are major interventions, major major life-changing interventions.
Yes.
With such little data. I honestly don't know what's happening over there, but we, here in Florida with Governor DeSantis, we can't stay silent when recommendations that make no sense or in fact likely to be harmful are being made.
Is it ever, and tell us as a physician, are there data supporting the idea that it is ever medically necessary on the basis of emotional reasons to remove the breasts of, say, a 13-year-old girl?
Right, so it's definitely a complicated issue. I think, to answer your question, I think the things that we think about include the fact that, first of all, and this is something that's not publicized, but it's been shown in multiple studies, when adolescents express an interest in being another gender, feeling that they're not in the right body, believe it or not, about 8 out of 10 of these children will essentially stop having that desire, stop feeling that way later in adolescence or in young adulthood. 8 out of 10 of them basically move beyond having those feelings.
They don't want to be astronauts either, of course.
So it right. So it's complicated, but the right answer, and the whole, everything about it is complicated, right? Obviously, but the right answer is not to be subjecting children to therapies like puberty blockers that we don't fully understand the implications of, or surgeries that are irreversible. I mean, that's just not that's not where you land after you evaluate the body of evidence.
Yeah, I mean, sterilizing children, that's a big step. So maybe we should pause. I appreciate the reasonable perspective you have on this. And I'm sorry that people are denouncing you as a hater. It seems just the opposite to me. Doctor, thank you.
And, yeah, thanks, Tucker.
Thanks. So just moments before we went to air tonight, a plane apparently crashed at a General Mills plant, a food plant in Covington, Georgia. 6 tractor trailers were reportedly on fire. We're seeing pictures from the scene right now. This is the second time in a week that something like this has happened. On April 14th, the plane crashed into the Gem State Processing in East Idaho. What's going on here? Well, the story gets weirder. Food processing plants all over the country seem to be catching fire. A couple of days ago, a fire destroyed the headquarters of Azure Standard, one of the largest organic food distributors in the country. At the end of last month, a fire severely damaged a fresh onion packing facility in South Texas. In Oregon, a potato chip processing plant just reported a boiler explosion that sent workers to the hospital. Here's a news report on that.
Eastern Oregon, where crews are battling a major fire at a potato chip processing plant. Air 12 flew over the scene at Shearer's Foods on Highway 207 in Hermiston. We're told the fire was caused by an explosion of a portable boiler there. 2 people were taken to the hospital.
So industrial accidents happen, of course, but this is a lot of industrial accidents at food processing facilities at the same time the president's warning us about food shortages. They're getting hit by planes and catching fire. What is going on here exactly? Jason Rantz hosts a radio show in Seattle and joins us to put it into perspective. Jason, good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, obviously when something happens every so often, you obviously hope that there's no significant damage and certainly no one gets hurt, but you kind of write it off. It's not that big of a deal. Accidents happen. But when you've got well over a dozen food processing plants and warehouses getting destroyed or seriously damaged over just the last few weeks, at a time when the food supply is already vulnerable, it's obviously suspicious, and it could lead to serious food shortages. That's why some folks are now wondering, well, number one, what's going on? And you've got some people speculating that this might be an intentional way to disrupt the food supply.
Wait, may I ask you to pause there really quick? Can I just ask you, I just want to nail this down so our viewers understand. There have been confirmed over a dozen disabling accidents at food plants in the last month, over a dozen.
Absolutely, and we're talking about some really significant plants. The Taylor Farms facility in Salinas, California was completely destroyed by a fire last week. We've had 2 major potato processing plants in Belfast, Maine and Warden, Washington that were completely gutted, which is happening at a time where we already have a potato shortage globally. You were talking about the onion supply at that Rio Fresh, but it's not just produce plants. Last month there was a fire that took out a Nestle food plant out in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and that's impacting frozen food brands like Hot Pockets or Stouffer's, which maybe you might buy if you can't get fresh food from a warehouse that just exploded. And that Shearer's food facility you just mentioned in the open, I mean, that's the only
What is it you need? Come again.
Hey there.
Hi. What is it you need?